G'day Warbanders, and today I want to talk about Gilded Destiny, and specifically I want to react to their Q&A they just had recently, like a discussion, like answering some questions they had from the community. And I thought it'd be a great opportunity just to like check in on this game, because Gilded Destiny, if you don't know, is a 19th century grand strategy game with economics, warfare, etc. It's basically Victoria 2, but on a bit more, steroids, and better than Victoria 3. And yeah, I just wanted to sort of react to these questions and answers, because there's some new information here about the game. Of course, I haven't covered the entire game development because I'm just too busy, but this is a great way for me to just check in and tell you guys what's happening. Let's get started.
Salutations, industrialists.
Salutations.
A producer working on Gilded Destiny, and
yeah, I think he's had a cold. Really unfortunate now near the new year.
As promised, I'm happy to share the second part.
And
of the
I'll
discussion.
probably skip some areas that are like
already watched
boring, I suppose. But
about events
yeah,
yet, be sure to check out our 20-second dev diary.
Yeah, the globe looks amazing
On the event system. This dev diary features questions from our community about the game, the Victorian era, and a few random topics. We had a lot of fun recording this part of the video, so we will certainly plan to do one again.
Oh yeah, I hope they make some more videos, Q&A, because they are very informative, and it's nice to see what the developers are thinking, and how they perceive like their community's sort of questions and wishes.
And in the future. Well, without further ado, let's get started.
Alright, so we may actually circle back to events a little bit, but now we actually have some player questions directed towards us. So let's move into that.
Yeah, these
we actually have players.
Yeah. These are from the Discord.
Yeah, these are from our Discord.
Yeah, so they picked a lot of questions from everywhere, I suppose, not just like their Discord. I haven't had any questions so far, but I'm interested to see what they answer.
Discord, and also from our...
I'll probably skip ahead a little bit.
48-49 revolutions. That they were able to seize the arsenal before...
Oh yeah, so they're just talking about what events and facts of the Victorian era. Yeah, not important, like for my purposes, but if I had to choose, it'd probably be like the entire era, because it led to the world we see today. It is the first sort of... It's like the period of time changed everything, like forever. And everything we have here today can be linked to that period of time where there's significant technological innovation. Really, it was just amazing what they did in that period of time. And it was only within a couple of decades.
Secessionist forces could, and that kept Missouri immune. Interesting.
I mean, a really cool thing I found out about, which I didn't know before, and I tell anyone who will be willing to listen, is about Victorian plastics, which... Oh yeah, everything. This is what I mean, guys. Everything. This is why I'm so obsessed with this period of history, is that even plastics, which is taken for granted in our world, started sort of in the Victorian period, I'm pretty sure. And I also have a book that I'm reading right now that goes through all these details of how things came from the Victorian period that, are here today. And yeah, I'll probably just skip this, because like it's not really about the game, but about themselves. They all have really interesting, add-ons. But here's a juicy question. Why did they decide to use the globe?
Sizes. It's ultimately kind of what it comes down to. It's important when we're talking about if you're invading a country like Russia, for example. If you're using a normal projection, it definitely looks way bigger than it is.
Right.
It gives you a very distorted impression of how big or small.
Oh, absolutely. First thing in geography class I was told is that the Mercator projection, or the normal sort of maps we see today, like flat maps, they're not accurate. The fact that Europe can be bigger than Africa, or whatever, it's really unrealistic, and I'm happy that they are going for a realistic globe, because things like my country of Australia, Africa, America, they're all big continents, way bigger than Europe, and Europe barely, like, it's very small compared to these globes, and it will reflect in the game because if you have a globe that's realistically scaled, it will be very nice for lots of strategic gameplay.
Things are. One thing that, of course, in school and kind of just looking around on maps, you always know that Europe, in comparison to the rest of how they appear on map, is smaller. But it's actually, it wasn't until that we're kind of putting them on hexes that we start to realize the difference is much bigger than even we imagined.
And I love hexes, man. I don't care what people say, oh, provinces are better, just because they give nicer borders. Like, who cares, man? It's the gameplay. Hexes allow for more better gameplay, especially within this game, which has a lot of moving parts. So I don't get some of the little complaints I see about them, like the borders. Like, it's a worthy, trade to have better gameplay.
Right.
It caused problems.
Yeah. I mean, for example, comparing, if you just simply look at Europe versus North America or the United States, the density in which we have to place cities or other things is so. In Europe, everything's on top of everything else. In the United States, everything would be nice and spread out. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This question has been asked many times, but let's reiterate. Will multiplayer be added to the game?
Yes.
Yes, I love multiplayer. I couldn't get into Victoria 2 multiplayer because I'm just not autistic enough, because it's very try-hardy, and also there's a lot of desyncs and all that. But yeah, I'm really happy that they're focusing on adding multiplayer, because multiplayer just adds a lot of new players to the game. And also, AI, like, strategy game AI is not going to always be the player. It's as simple as that. When you get skilled enough at a game, the AI is not going to give you enough challenge. Only if you impose yourself some challenges, and it's great that adding multiplayer at the start. I hate when games focus on single player only, because it's just less content for the player. And it's nice to see that they've been looking at the Victoria 2 community, and they see that Victoria 2 multiplayer is what grew the game a lot, like in popularity. Namely, Spudgun and other YouTubers, they sort of built that up. And yeah, it's just amazing.
But this will be something we try to implement after.
It would definitely be a challenge.
The release of the game. Mostly because I think for us, we want to make sure that we have a flushed out game mechanics before we consider.
The world map is just it's getting prettier by every update.
Sort of adding multiplayers to it. This, however, also means that even now, when we are creating the code as well as just design considerations, we do have multiplayers in mind.
Okay. Fair. One player asks, can I still have the alpha test before Christmas? How long will...
Please, Gilded Destiny, give me a look at the game. I'm sorry, I didn't back your game on Kickstarter. I'm a poor student. I'm a poor university student. Please, give me something. No joke. I'm prepared to wait. But yeah, of course, I'm really jealous of those Kickstarter backers, and hopefully they open it up to more people. Because the more people, more diverse perspectives, fresh eyes, you're going to get a better game from the feedback. Feedback's super important in video game development, and Victoria 3 devs could learn from this.
Will it take for the alpha to be released?
No comment.
The world map is
We're not doing this.
It will be ready when it's ready. In essence,
yes. Even though I'm really impatient for this game, you cannot drop the ball on this one. Quilly Interactive, you cannot. You got to, beat Paradox here. In terms of the initial player experience, it has to be better than Victoria 3 on launch. That's my sort of baseline. And you're already on your way there with the combat. You're already on your way there. I played the leak and it was horrible, but I'm looking at this right now. I'm like, oh, damn, I want to play this game so badly. I don't care how unfinished it is. It just looks, all the design decisions seem logical. They seem inspired by Victoria 2 a lot and some other little games I know of. Yeah.
Right now, with the pre-alpha out, we are based on player feedback. So depending on how that goes, we'll end up releasing to the wider alpha community.
Yeah.
It's always going to be it's ready when it's ready. We do not want to release something that's not enjoyable in any way.
Exactly. First impressions matter. Unfortunately, in our world, in this sort of marketing and ADHD and TikTok generation, bro, I'm just joking, but like, yeah, first impressions very important in game development. If you don't impress straight away, the player counts just drop, your sales drop, I believe. Again, I'm not a video game developer, but I've observed these trends, and first impressions, everything.
We want to make sure that kind of feedback is important, so we want to get it out as early as possible. But if it's not fun, no one's gonna give us feedback.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's going to be it's ready when it's ready, or soon TM.
Yeah.
Great. So how many ways, this is another question, how many ways are there to interact with leaders in the game? Can we poach talent from other countries?
It's a bit of a niche mechanic,
I'm
isn't
not
it?
entirely sure whether we've fully done
What is
that.
this? The Middle Ages? Like, this isn't. It doesn't make sense. Like, if I stole a leader from your country, isn't that treason? Like, if all my politicians today said, "Oh, I'm going to go join China because why not?" Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, you'd be called a traitor. You could be called treasonous. Like, I could see why they haven't added this mechanic in. It'd be like I don't know. It just doesn't suit the period at all. Would a 19th century Prussian general defect to the Russian army? I don't know.
Well, that was something I had suggested in our recent event discussion, is that we need a way to transfer leaders from one country to another.
We definitely have. It is something that...
Because in this period of nationalism and rising, empire politics, you think that poaching talent, it just doesn't make sense to me.
The events...
I don't read in the history books saying, oh, the British Empire convinced the Prussian politician to switch sides. I'm like, nah, not this period.
System is designed to be able to do, but in terms of something that you can do...
And I hope this doesn't make it into the game, kind of. What's your favorite board game, card games? They talk about Cards of Humanity, whatever. Not really useful to my sort of dissection of this video. But if I had to say my favorite board game, probably be Diplomacy. pretty fitting for my sort of interests. That's my most favorite board game, probably. And yeah, just like those political relationships that are represented in that simple ass game of moving pieces around and politicking. That's what Diplomacy is, and that's why I like the game called Diplomacy. And you can fuck around with people. It's fun.
Personally,
Many years ago, the game.
And we'll just skip
And
this.
obviously it's very important. It needs to work. And
Yeah, exactly. What has been the biggest challenge you've faced so far? And what feature or mechanic are you the most
Probably the
excited to
economy.
show off in the pre-alpha?
yeah, I can answer that one. The biggest challenge, we're still facing it. We're coming up with ideas for how to fix it. It's the economy. The economy is very complex.
Of course it's going to be complex. And I applaud them for making an economy system and trying to represent 19th century economics. And they're also thinking of adding banks and stuff like that. It's just so good. And I'm hoping they can just refine it enough so it feels, playable. Victoria 2, while it's an amazing game, just does have some vanilla game quirks that I've observed. I won't go into detail, but yeah, there's some problems. And also there's some problems with the economy of Victoria 3 as well. Like, I've played it and it's very dull. Oh, build factories to get tools. Build mines. Build. Oh my god. Can you give me a different gameplay loop of build tools and build, oh god.
And obviously it's very important. It needs to work. It needs to work in a way that people expect.
And you see that road system? This is really important. And Victoria 3 doesn't care about roads, but they added roads in the game. You can see it. There's road networks. Awesome stuff.
We are making progress, but it is tricky, and also, it is something that can be computationally heavy. There's a lot of processing required for it. If too much processing breaks the game. I mean, some of those of you who kept track with our dev diaries, I mean, the original plan was to have trade happen in real space.
I'm a bit disappointed that wasn't added, but I understand why they've shifted from that. Because I think that'll be too complex to calculate. But you can sort of hand wave that away, because this is the era of global trade. This is the beginning of globalism, or the idea of interconnections, right? So you can sort of hand wave all these things around. Of course, if you're like doing a medieval age game, you would add these things in, because the world wasn't as connected as the Victorian period. But in this time, markets are opening up, Japan's opening up, China is sort of reluctantly giving away their trade. The world is becoming more connected in the 19th century. So again, it's not really a big issue.
That broke the game. It was too process intensive. So
I'm hoping to have trade routes though that you can disrupt at the bare minimum.
We've been working on other things since then, but obviously, with the number of goods, the number of countries, it's a major challenge.
Like if I'm blockading a major country with my superior navy like Britain, you should basically starve to death. That's what happened to Germany in the First World War. Basically, they formed this big giant blockade in the Atlantic, and they basically starved Germany to death. Like they couldn't keep up the war because just not enough food.
Challenge, and to be able to reflect kind of things like the supply and demand and prices rising and falling and freight costs and all that sort of thing. There's a lot of things going on, and also things like tariffs, embargoes need to have an effect. Wars need to have an effect. Shortages caused by famine and such need to have an effect both on the availability of goods and the price of goods. And so all of these...
please don't add a Victoria 3 system where you can still get these goods somehow appear out of thin air. Like if you have no iron, you should have no iron. You shouldn't spend more money to get to resolve the shortage. Your army should be dying. If you're not importing grain, like say if you're some shit poor country and you can't have enough grain, your population should starve. Like I get maybe it's a little bit unrealistic. Like you can get these situations where your pops are just dying in mass, but that's what's happened. Look at Russia in the 1917 revolution. There was a lot of grain shortages, and that's actually what led to it was a factor in the Bolsheviks rising up, because the people wanted food and it wasn't there. So please model this in your game. Don't hand wave it away like Victoria 3 and just go, if you pay extra money, you still get the goods anyway. I'm like, no.
These kind of considerations need to be taken into account in order to have a simulation of a closed economic system. Likewise, money shouldn't be disappearing. It should always be going somewhere.
Yes.
There shouldn't be any kind of money holes in the game. And
I think Victoria 2 has money holes. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure there's a script that does something. I can't remember.
When we find those, we need to plug them. So that's another big concern.
Okay.
But it's a big challenge.
Absolutely.
Okay, so next question. Anything else?
Oh, I mean, wasn't kind of like for everyone?
That's
the most
yeah.
exciting
So go for it.
If you've got a most challenging or most exciting?
Yeah, something I'm excited for is that just establishing logistics networks. I've always kind of been obsessed with that.
That should be a core part of the gameplay. So good that they're excited for that.
I'm excited to be able to specialize in a certain good and become the dominant producer, and so that everyone has
that's Victoria. That's peak Victoria gameplay to me. Peak.
To come to me if they want it, otherwise they can't compete. That kind of.
One of my favorite strategies is like hoarding guns and selling guns. I find that so fun in these sort of games. Like you hoard guns, you go, oh, I'm the king of Prussia, I'm making all these guns, and if you want these guns, and you sell it to your allies to fight other people's wars. I want that sort of gameplay from Gilded Destiny. You can do it in Victoria 3 and Victoria 2, but it's not as pronounced. Like it's not as impactful.
Something I'm really.
You can do it, but it's,
for me, the most exciting part is definitely warfare. I think it's something.
Absolutely, warfare is like the biggest selling feature of this game, and I think warfare in the 19th century is very important. And the way they hand waved it in Victoria 3 was absolutely disgusting. As someone who studies this period, you are ignoring a huge part of the history of this, period. And I'm glad that Gilded Destiny and Victoria 2 represented it in a sort of faithful way. And Victoria 3, oh shit, man, I want to strangle Victoria 3. Damn.
Something where we depart from other similar games.
I'm sorry if I'm being very emotional here, but damn, you don't know how much Victoria 3 hurt me, man. It's like, oh, warband plays, where they touch you? Like, oh my god.
It's decisively more tactical. As you can see from our previous dev diaries, kind of having a province like California, for example, you have varied terrains, you have different paths that you can take.
Yeah, that's the first thing I observed in my video, looking at the terrain in the editor that they gave me. The way that there's like so many hexes, right? And there's like mountains and rivers. Like, this wasn't in Victoria 2 or Victoria 3. Like, you can get rivers and stuff, but like, there's more tactical movement. Okay, like you can funnel troops through this mountain range, like it's just sort of tactical gameplay, right? And hopefully it works out.
I think if we do it well, it can be meaningfully different from.
And it should be done well, because this period is also at the height of military innovation. You go from flintlock muskets to machine guns in a very small amount of time, and that's insane. In previous centuries, you're still using flintlock muskets for a couple of centuries. Maybe you have matchlocks before, but you still have that sort of linear warfare, and that just becomes obsolete in the First World War within a couple of decades from the 19th century. And it's just amazing that Victoria 3 dropped the ball so hard on that one.
On what's out there today.
Yes, I definitely agree with that. The fact that essentially our provinces have multiple terrain types.
Yep.
That's something you don't really see in a lot of grand
Yes.
right now. So
Main
it
selling point
adds a lot of
hexes,
tactics to combat.
Because obviously a lot of the sort of the focus is of course on cities in terms of
I'm hoping that AI can handle it, is the one thing I'm worried about.
capturing cities and all that sort of thing. But there are also buildings that exist, they're like rural production buildings. Destroying those
nice, so
have
we
quite a
can
big
burn
effect
farms.
on countries as well. So sometimes you might need to.
So if I go around with some cavalry, start doing some, General Sherman stuff and burning stuff, to wage total war. Like, total war was pioneered in the 19th century. Like the idea of destroying productions, destroying farms, not just taking the enemy capital like in the Napoleonic Wars. You're actually destroying a nation's, means of production to wage war, right? And this is what I'm hoping they'll do.
Choose where you're going to position your soldiers in terms of what you're going to try and defend, what you're going to try and attack within a province even. So yeah, there's quite a lot of tactical depth available there.
Just by having the terrain.
Because you have, within this time period, you do have the First World War, so you've got to take that into consideration, because the First World War was basically, there was strategic victories, there were tactical victories, but it also was a war of attrition, where it was down to the last man and it was down to the last gun, bullet, and shells. The German army was collapsing in 1918, and that should be represented in the game in a sort of World War I situation where you have multiple great powers doing warfare. There should be like an attritional stage, right? And Victoria 3, it does sort of represent that, but it's the entire game. But they think that warfare was World War I fronts from 1836 to 1918, and I'm like, no, you guys didn't read books, you guys didn't even look at the Wikipedia, right? It's terrible. And I can tell these guys have looked at books. I can tell they can see things, right? You have to go more further than Wikipedia research, I think. Again, when I'm not asking you to be historians, okay? I'm not asking you to be like, read the primary source, just do the bare minimum and just have a more than basic understanding of how warfare works in the 19th century, please.
It also means that in certain provinces there are choke points.
Yeah.
That makes defenses either harder or easier.
Yeah, you can have choke points within a province, not just as a province.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
say probably the thing I'm most excited for is the something we're working on at the moment, which again relates to the economy, which is the ability to use the national stockpile as a way of manipulating the global market.
Great.
Of trying to stockpile.
And it's funny because in Victoria 3, stockpiles don't exist. Your goods aren't really tangible. They're not physically tracked. It's all about prices, right? And like, yeah, that's okay. Like, it's okay abstraction, right? But when you have like a warfare element attached to the game, you need to track resources, because you got to track attrition. You need to track resources. Like, you have to have real shortages, not some janky shortage system, right? That's what Victoria 3 did. They added some sort of like modifier to like, it's just terrible. And it's great that they're thinking about stockpiles and, actual physical goods that you have to keep track of.
Goods, and then release them, both to create artificial shortages and artificial surplus.
Oh yeah, I think there's plenty of examples of that happening.
We currently are still working on this, but it is sort of partly done, is a banking system as well. So the countries will have their national bank and can loan to other countries and make money off the interest. Both of these are kind of quite exciting in terms of just it gives you a different.
I just really off topic. I wonder if they'll model the slave trade and how cotton was like super like important to the South in North America. I wonder if they'll represent that in some way. That's an example of like economics. Hopefully they represent something like that.
Different way to play. It allows you to play as an economic power without necessarily needing to rely on military if you don't want to play that way.
Nothing will do this.
Because like an example of Victoria economics is like, the South, their sort of main exports were cotton. And, there's one sort of alternative history theory is that if the South, it was, they had a lot of production in cotton and Europe liked, Southern cotton. And there's like an argument to be made is that could Britain and France be drawn into the conflict if, the South was like, pressing more like, oh, we won't, the blockade was like doing stuff and, all these things, right? So hopefully they can add some mechanics showing that those relationships.
But I think
because that's how the South lost. The Confederacy lost because of the blockade. Like the First World War with Germany, the blockade really just like made the Confederates struggle.
One interesting thing that we can think about is if we can allow some players to just play as the bank.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Oh please, I want to play as the bank. Please add DLC. I want to play as the bankers, man. Fun wars and like. Oh please, I want to be able to be like the rich nation and like just hand out loans and then like, oh, you didn't give me all my money, I want to take it back now. Like, it'd be so cool.
That would be cool.
Yeah, I still want to make a game that's basically that. But yeah.
Yeah.
But
There's one game called Evil Bank Manager, but it's kind of ass.
there is one that exists, but it's
Yeah.
Because also the stockpile, by creating artificial demand, is another way to subsidize your factories and things like
Yeah,
that.
sure it is. Yeah, I mean, essentially, you can, and countries did this historically. Countries, I think it was coffee at one point. There was a surplus of coffee, so they bought it all up just so that they could keep the price high. I mean, I believe that's something that the British government did in the not too recent past.
And I think they even do it today, like subsidizing and all that. Like, I'm not that well versed in today's economics, but
As well with butter, the whole thing of butter stockpiles or something.
like a lot of stuff is subsidized by the government in Australia. Like, I think a lot, but again, I'm not an economics. Like, I'm not an economics person, so don't quote me on that.
But yeah, it's a valid economic tactic, and it's something that governments use to enable their businesses to survive in certain economic conditions. So yeah, and again, the idea is to enable our game to simulate that sort of thing.
Great. Something as well that I'm a bit excited to show off in the alpha and pre-alpha we worked on a while ago was the soundtrack. We've of course been teasing it a little bit.
Soundtrack is just amazing. I love it.
But yeah, now it's officially in the game. Thanks to our great composer that we worked with, John Skoog. So,
Just a thing I'd probably add. Obviously, these are the things we want and are working on, but there's an extent to which we might find that there are intractable problems and we need to scale back some of these plans. They're what we're
Absolutely, you got to keep your scope reasonable, you can get like mechanics creep and just like get out of control, and then everything doesn't work. So you got to be careful about what you add in the game. Oh, whoops.
They're hoping to do, basically, and they're what we've started doing and made progress on, but we can't ever guarantee any of them yet. As we say in all of our dev diaries, it's work in progress.
Yeah.
You can splice that in whenever you want, really. It's just I feel it might be worth saying.
Yeah. Well, there'll be the nice work in progress thing down the bottom of the dev diary anyway. So, but yeah. Just a couple more questions that we have. So, do capitalists take into account things like the price and cost of goods?
Very important.
Potential profit, availability.
The funny thing is, Victoria 3 doesn't really have this. Like, maybe they did add it in the last update, but it's too late now. Like, Victoria 2 had this great system where capitalists sort of invested in what they think was profitable. Wasn't what the government thought it was, but the pop actually thought it was profitable. So
Of workers and other factors that would actually be important for the operating of a business.
The plan is yes.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah. Ultimately, yes. We're currently working on this as well. But so far we have managed to get them to take some of these things into account already. But yeah, they're also, the plan is for them to take into account things like whether other capitalists have also built a bunch of businesses of the same type recently.
Oh yeah.
So that they won't all spam the same thing.
Absolutely. I've heard the memes going around like Victoria 2 capitalists investing in clipper factories. I'm like, oh, hopefully they fix that.
And when I say the plan is, I mean, it's what we're currently doing. It's ultimately, actually, that sort of thing is generally not too hard to do. But yeah, No.
I'm hoping they add like an investment pool mechanic like Victoria 3, because that just makes it seem like a communist system where every capitalist pop is putting all their money into a pool of some arbitrary thing, and then the money is taken out from the AI construction, like the construction AI, to just randomly place buildings. That's essentially what the Victoria 3 system does, and that's a cop-out. That is just a hack way of doing it, and hopefully they don't follow that path.
Hard promises, but it's certainly the plan. Yeah.
Right. So, we're down to the final two questions, kind of fun ones. Would you be open to doing community challenges when the game is released? And an example would be giving the community a week to find out the fastest way to form Germany, or maybe, as we mentioned before.
Oh, that's so overdone, eh? How fast could I form the German Empire in 1861? I'm like, ugh. I've done that like so many times.
Finding the 12 pentagons.
I really like playing as the Ottoman Empire, trying to bring them back. That's a fun challenge.
I mean, yeah, it sounds cool. I'd be down for doing something like that.
Yeah, seems pretty fun.
Yeah. I've always been a fan of Haiti, given its very difficult starting position, trying to...
Yeah, because they massacred everybody. People don't want you to know this, but they were enslaved. And, of course they rose up, but they just killed everybody. I'm just like, whoa! Like, of course they were enslaved. They were treated horribly, evilly, but then they rose up and killed everyone. Even the women and children. They just killed everybody. And they're still in debt to this day, I believe. So, I don't know. But, it's completely unrelated. But yeah, that country would be hard to play.
Something that is...
obvious reasons.
Try and get out from under France's debt. That kind of thing is a nice little challenge.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sounds good. Or starting as like a small state anywhere around the world. Forming a...
My favorite one is Persia as well. Persia's fun to play.
Unifying a country.
Or finding your economic niche.
Right. I mean, the poster's idea of, fastest to unify Germany is pretty good too,
Yeah.
Fastest to do the Meiji Restoration in Japan.
Yeah. Yeah, fastest to unify Italy, or, anything like that.
Fastest
pretty standard.
There you go.
Do the one religion challenge.
Is world conquest possible in this game?
Convert to everyone.
Sounds good. Yeah. All right, and so down to the last question, which sounds like a great idea. Will you guys do monthly mod spotlights?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the goal. If we build it, they will come.
Yeah, I'm hoping mods come to the spotlight. Funny. And And yeah, I'm hoping to see like some crazy mods. I'm hoping the modders come over from Victoria 3 because this is a better game. I'm feeling it. I'm hoping they can bring it to us. But yeah, I'm not going to go any further, guys, because this is like the last question. And yeah, I'm very excited with Gilded Destiny's sort of like progress, and their answers are very pleasing to me. And hopefully we see more. Hopefully I get access to a copy of the game so I can review it. And again, I will be honest if I do get a copy. But so far, from what I'm seeing, from what the gameplay they're showing right now, I'm like, this is working. I feel like this is going to work, and hopefully, Gilded Destiny gets the popularity it needs. Because if there's no competition, Paradox is just going to constantly just fuck us over. Okay, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. I'm nearing 1,000 subscribers, so I really appreciate it. Only a small percentage of you are subscribed, so it really helps for me to make videos because it gives me motivation. People are actually watching my videos and yeah. I hope to see you in the next one. Yeah, bye.